the Oakland County Board of Commissioners Planning and Building Committee. Today is Tuesday, October 16th. Could we have a roll call, please?
Crawford.
Here.
McGilvray. Dwyer.
Here.
Jackson. Here. Cease is not here yet. Whiteford.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Could you please join with me for pledge of allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Approval of the previous minutes, moved by Commissioner Crawford, supported by Commissioner McGilvray. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed. Approval of today's agenda and respective issues, moved by Commissioner Crawford, supported by Commissioner Jackson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passed. Any public comment today? Seeing no public comment, we will move on to today's regular agenda. Item number 1 is the Circuit and Probate Court Facilities Planning and Engineering New Courtroom Construction Project. Could I have a motion, please? Moved by Commissioner Dwyer, supported by Commissioner Jackson. Item number 1, could we have our presenters, please? Good morning.
Hi everyone, I'm Shamina Kumar, Chief Judge of Circuit Court.
And I am Kathleen Ryan, Chief Judge of Probate Court.
Edward Hutton, the Probate Court Administrator. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
So this is, we've got Art, hopefully it's there. Art,
Yeah, our
We have
folder.
facilities available, yeah?
facilities available, okay. And so this is, item number 1 is our new courtroom that's
Yeah.
proposed. I know it's gone out with proposed bid. So
What exactly do you want to know? The bottom line is, we did some collaboration between facilities and both benches. And it was all agreed that, a new courtroom was needed due to the, correct me if I'm wrong, jump in any time, due to the, approval and the, initiation of a new 20th judge. And the, I know that there was an understanding at some point that there might be an extra courtroom, so it was never brought to the attention when the 20th judge was approved, that, a new courtroom facility was necessary. After the fact, it turned out that after we all collaborated and looked at it, that the existing courtroom was woefully insufficient to handle any type of, current dockets in today's society, especially in probate with the, increase in the docket number and the size, the lack of technology, the lack of space. And so we determined was necessary. Everybody worked together. We had input of the sheriffs for security purposes. We had input of facilities. We had input with Mr. Bertolini and his folks and both benches. And this is what you have before you is the plan that was agreed upon.
any questions? Commissioner McGilvray.
Yeah, I'll be voting no on this thing. The reason being is I met with Mr. Wilson and Mr. Superwriter, before they added the new judge. And I was explicitly told by them that there would not be a need for another courtroom. And that there would be absolutely no cost to add another judge. That the visiting judge would be leaving and that those, that extra money would go toward the new judge. So that being the case, I can't support this at all.
Any other
I
questions?
think what happened,
Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah.
I think what happened there is I think that was true, what they said to you, what they believed to be true. What we didn't anticipate, we knew that there was this old courtroom that we thought was usable, and we didn't know that at a later time, that courtroom was gonna be looked at, thank you, and to be determined not to be suitable. We didn't foresee that. So at the time that Mr. Wilson and Mr. Cooperrider said that, they believed that to be the case. It was just after January when that other courtroom was looked at, and, we weren't part of that. We didn't know that that wasn't a suitable courtroom. I am supportive that that is not a suitable courtroom. I think it's a very small courtroom. I watch what goes on in that hallway, and I don't think it can support any more litigants because that hallway already is very crowded. So that's why I'm supportive of the determination that it's not suitable. It's a very, very small courtroom, and the probate dockets are only increasing, and I don't think it's safe for the people. I agree with that. It's just too crowded in that whole area. So we just didn't anticipate, we didn't look at that courtroom, we didn't think about that determination being made later. So that's what happened. So at the time that was said to you, we believed that, but we just didn't anticipate that that courtroom would be deemed not suitable at a later date.
And I think, if I could just chime in too, and again, this is, no finger pointing or flaws of anybody, because I think it was a miscommunication, because, nobody took the input of probate court. And had that have happened, we would have, and I do agree with Judge Kumar, that Dave Bilson and John Cooperrider at the time thought it was probably suitable, but I don't think anybody actually looked at the facilities, and perhaps the right hand and the left hand didn't discuss, because I think if they did at the time, the resolution for the 20th judge would have included a capital improvement. And keeping in mind also, and again, with all due respect to our colleagues, Judge Kumar, we didn't have any input in the previous decisions, so we are here today, working together.
You didn't have any
collectively.
decisions because.
We were
you-
not chief judges, we
Okay.
weren't, we didn't have
That's
any
what I want.
leadership role.
Yeah.
And therefore, things weren't brought to our attention. And again, not blaming anybody, but we're here today, and the great news is both benches work together great. We're collaborating, very well with facilities, the sheriff department, the administration, the executive's office. And, this whole courtroom situation was a 100% joint effort. And also with facilities, architects, I mean, literally almost every aspect of this county has been working on this, and, it was actually very pleasant.
I still am opposed to it, only because I was explicitly told by those gentlemen that there would not be a need. And we're talking almost $2 million there to do this. And we were told that it wouldn't cost anything, so.
Understood.
Commissioner Dwyer.
Morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to support because I see a need for this project. When does the new judge come in and take the bench?
January 1.
January.
January 1. So what you have as far as where the visiting judge was would be very inadequate
Oh,
for
yeah.
full-time probate judge, is
Yeah,
what we're
it
saying,
would be
right?
fine for temporary, because if there's ever jury trials or whatnot, we can always swap courtrooms during that time, but it would not support even the staff on a
Yeah,
permanent
there's no
level.
jury box in that courtroom,
Right.
there's not full spaces for staff, full staff.
So you go from this committee to the finance committee, is that correct,
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Any other questions? Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you. So, the old courtroom is inadequate as far as, what has been determined up to this point, inadequate to serve the public.
Correct.
The people that are coming.
Correct.
Mr. Bilson was here, I think, maybe our last meeting or the meeting before, and talking about, family court space, meeting rooms and problems with, access when they have, removal of children from parents and problems like that. Will the addition of this courtroom help the need of space for those areas at all?
And just a reminder, this was a few meetings ago, we
Right,
talked about redoing
they're
the
talking about the
referee
juvenile
rooms.
area, they're talking about the juvenile
Oh,
area.
yeah, I was like.
They're on opposite ends of the courthouse, so it wouldn't have any,
Right.
unfortunately, it wouldn't help.
Okay, but this courtroom itself will help those on your docket, those that are coming in
Yeah.
cases, in our public. What about the, I know there was talk about, ADA and, confining people coming in, wheelchairs.
The old courtroom or the new
The
courtroom?
old courtroom.
The old courtroom,
Adequate.
well, they have made some ADA modifications, because my courtroom's right next to the old courtroom as well. And they have made some changes, and I'm very pleased to report that, it has made a huge improvement in my courtroom. It is so far as where wheelchairs can go, and an ingress, egress, and the doors being widened. However, if we were to use the old courtroom with another judge, it wouldn't support chamber staff, and then also the hallway itself would be a safety hazard with the amount of people. The ingress and the egress, we already have, the probate counter is already overcrowded. My courtroom, my docket's one of the biggest dockets in probate. If you threw in another docket, it literally would cause fire hazards, safety hazards. It wouldn't be suitable whatsoever. And it also isn't up to speed to technology. and things of that nature. Did you wanna add something?
Yeah, commissioners, if I could, you mentioned ADA, and I'm glad you did. We're working very, very diligently with the courts to make sure we get the courtrooms up to speed so that people can come in that need that access. This old courtroom, if you walked in there, the jury box actually sits in the exit door in the hallway. The jury box fits like 3 people, and they can't even fit, all the chairs are just combined, and they actually sit in the exit door.
Mhm.
It just wasn't going to work. So we worked with them to find out what the space needs were. The courtroom that has been designed has the proper space allocated within it to do all the functions of a courtroom. It has holding areas, it has conference rooms, it has all the pieces for the staff and for the function of the court too, besides the access in the courtroom. And the courtroom will have the proper technologies that are required to be able to run an efficient court as well.
I'm sure that is most favorable to you.
Yeah,
the
you know,
technology quotient.
The technology piece is when you're dealing in a court in the limited amount of time they have and the ability to move cases and to do what they have to do, it has to be efficient. And we wanted to make sure that this design was efficient. It's very much designed like some of the newer courtrooms we had built already in other parts of the building, so we were able to use the design of other courtrooms, fit it into that space, and then design appropriately based on what was actually needed for them to proceed with their cases. And Judge Ryan is correct. If they wanted to do a jury trial, they would have to swap courtrooms with another judge to be able to do a jury trial. That's how bad that space was and how small it is. And it was not ADA compliant. To be ADA compliant, we're gonna have to take walls out and everything else. So building the new court was the right decision, and we all agreed that it was the right way to go.
Commissioner Dwyer had a question. Yeah, you still.
I understand why Commissioner McGilvery has taken the position he is. And I just say, it was misleading, it was bad information at the beginning, and it's too bad that happened. I mean, I do support, as I said earlier, but I would hope in the future that things don't get out of hand and these misleading information is given to the Board of Commissioners. I mean, so I understand, Commissioner.
That's why it's important to have
Right.
the probate
Exactly.
circuit benches get along like we get along,
Right.
and I think it's been a world of difference since Judge Ryan and I.
You gotta be
became
careful
chief judges.
sometimes as far as, what is said, because it comes back.
Well, it's really important that the right hand talks to the left hand.
Exactly.
And unfortunately,
Right, Judge.
historically, again, not putting any blame on anybody, it just morphed to be that way. It wasn't. And Judge Kumar and I have been charged by the Supreme Court to make a difference in that regard. That was their primary purpose of appointing Judge Kumar and I. They knew that we know each other, we work well together, we actually graduated from law school together. Yeah, wasn't that, I mean, and, that they just really told us, this is your job. Get those benches to work better together, you are a unit, you are one, and I think we've done a tremendous job. I talk to her more than I talk to anybody in my family. Except for maybe my brother Jim.
Well, and we've got the circuit and the probate collaborating well with the administration and IT and the Sheriff's Department, and so that's good. Commissioner McGilvery had a question?
Now that we're adding the 20th judge in January, does the visiting judge leave then?
Yes.
Yes.
He does.
Yes.
And his existing courtroom now, won't be available, or?
It's not a space for a full courtroom for a full-time judge. Like I said, it doesn't have a jury box.
Oh, that's the one we're
That's the
talking
one. It
about.
doesn't have a jury box at all.
Okay.
And it doesn't have very much space for seating. It doesn't have a full area for a full staff. It's a very, very, this judge was only handling PPOs, nothing else. So it's not a space for a regular judge.
Well, when I met with the gentleman from the court, that's the court they were talking about using for the 20th judge. And that's why
I'd be surprised if they said that. I
that's
don't
the-
think they said that.
I think they were referring to the courtroom in the probate department.
There are two different courtrooms we're talking about. There's the visiting judge courtroom, that's not a regular full courtroom. Then there's an old probate courtroom. These are two different courtrooms. So it's the old probate courtroom that I think these gentlemen were thinking could be used,
Okay.
but then was later determined it was not suitable. So these are
Okay.
two different
Which
courtrooms we're
was,
talking about.
which was also, as a bit of history, I actually looked this up, I thought it was pretty fascinating. It was one of the first courtrooms built when this building was built in the early sixties, and, that is when probate had a much smaller docket and less of a role in the legal community than it does 50 years later. We now have EPIC, we have expansive jurisdiction. Baby boomers, who were literally babies back then, are all now getting older. Our dockets are increasing, we have expanded jurisdiction, we now have full jury trials. It's almost like, remember back in the day when they had such a thing called the Justice of the Peace? Well, that's obsolete now. That's now a district court, which is huge. Probate used to be small, and that's what those courtrooms were designed for, and we just have to get up with the times. So that's why it's really insufficient, unfortunately.
Okay. Any other questions? Call the roll.
Crawford.
Yes.
McGilvray.
No.
Dwyer.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Whitebird.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We need a motion for direct referral to finance. Moved by Commissioner Dwyer, supported by Commissioner Crawford. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passed.
Aye.
Commissioners, for Judge
Oh.
Kumar, go green.
Oh.
Go Irish to both of you.
You might be sorry you said that. Yes, got it.
You know, I did get in a Michigan State fight with somebody once, and I bought a brick with his name on it, #1 Michigan fan, that is currently sitting in Michigan Stadium. I'm just saying.
She can, watch out, don't cross her.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for your time.
Item number 2 is Parks and Recreation Commission, Independent Oaks, the step lease. I need a motion. Oh, hold on. Moved by Commissioner Jackson, supported by Commissioner Crawford. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dan Stetzel, Executive Officer for Oakland County Parks and Recreation Commission. This is a 1,200 square foot, 3-bedroom ranch at 9489 Sashabaw Road. It is part of the Independence Oaks Park. This is a 5-year lease. Mr. Stepp and his family have resided at this location for 5 years at this point, and we're asking your approval of a 5-year lease starting January 1st of 2019 and going to December 31st of 2023.
Any questions? Commissioner Dwyer.
Morning, Dan.
Yeah.
Just curious as far as how you came up with the pricing on this. That seems kind of low to me for that
Okay.
kind of a facility.
This is based upon a policy that was passed by our Parks Commission 7 or 8 years ago that affords, this is a full-time park staff person, and part of their responsibilities is to be the caretaker and kind of the security eyes and ears for the park system. And when we've acquired properties to add to the portfolio of the park system, sometimes houses are part of it. In this case, back in the early 70s, it was the requirement of the park system that the park supervisor live on site. So we have since gone away from that. We do a market study, and then we go from there to come up with a percentage of discount for the staff person.
Thank you.
Any other questions? And these have come through this committee every year.
Well-
And you have a bunch of properties on a lot of park properties and.
And what we do, this is the only one that's up for renewal this year. And so about this time each year, we'll probably be coming to you with whatever leases are expiring. We have about 10 houses in the park system that are rented this way.
We've heard before that you say the eyes and ears. We've heard this
Yes.
is a bonus to security and the
It
sheriff's,
is.
helps the sheriff's department. And they keep us posted on weather conditions and trespassers after hours, so. Any other questions? Let's call the roll.
McGilvray.
Yes.
Dwyer.
Yes.
Teague. Jackson.
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
Whitebird.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 3 is Department of Central Services Aviation Division approval and adoption of the airport rules and regulations. Any motion? Moved by Commissioner Crawford, supported by Commissioner Jackson. Good morning.
Good morning. Excuse me, I'm fighting something here.
You're far enough away to not have to worry.
I'm not.
And I got it from her.
I'm safe.
This is a referral from the airport committee. It's a long overdue updating of our rules and regulations. Frankly, the operation of airports is becoming increasingly complicated. We've got the airports are governed by the Michigan Aeronautics Commission, the Aeronautics Code, the FAA with its divisions of air traffic control, safety or flying procedures, the Airports Development Division. We have safety regulations from many different agencies, security from the Transportation Security Administration, U.S. Customs, EPA dealing with fuel and with noise, and on and on and on. So we've adopted and we comply with all the rules and regulations. We've adopted them, and here my reference, but at the same time, we've updated our rules and regulations so we have one complete package here that we can refer to, and it's long overdue. Cheryl has done the lion's share of the work, and Jody Hall has given the corporation counsel side of it, so we think we're legal, and we think we're professional, and we're ready to move on.
Any questions? Commissioner Dwyer?
Morning. Just curious, was there a lot of massive changes you had to make? A lot of time and effort went into updating?
Oh, by these two, yes. I had the easy role, I reviewed them.
Could you just give us a couple of examples as far as where you had to update?
Sure.
Just for our information.
Safety and security is probably one of the first and most obvious. The last time that the rules and regulations were updated was 2002. So you can imagine the environment that we're in today as compared to 2002. So we have put some teeth in some of our security measures now. We have a stricter enforcement policy. And so for those folks that are continuous violators, we now have a means to address that. That's one of the most obvious.
Is it the Sheriff's Department that provides the security at the airport, or who is it?
They assist, yes.
They have a presence with a helicopter, but we're part of Waterford
Township.
Oh, Waterford Township, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, it's a big change from 2002.
Yes.
In the old days, some of the airports and the hangars were hangouts and clubs, and people. Now it's
right.
It's a little bit more formal.
We also visited best practices with airports similar in our size, and we really went across the country and compared notes with airports that are Part 139, similar to our Oakland County International, and looked at what those best practices were and adopted the best of the best. We're really proud of this document.
Good. Commissioner McGilvery.
Question, when do you figure you may update those again? Is it gonna be on an annual basis, every 5 years, what?
Well, I think because we have so many changes, we'll be looking at what amendments, what responses that we get and identify, but I would think at least every other year we'd be looking for an update.
The good news is most of it is adopted by reference, so if they change something we have in a federal or state rule or regulation, it's already incorporated in our document.
Any other questions?
It'll be an easier task next time as well.
I'm not gonna wait.
Any other questions? Let's call the roll.
Dwyer.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
McGilvray.
Yes.
Whitebird.
Yes. Thank you. Item number 4 is, thank you. Item number 4 is the Sheriff's Office Facilities Planning and Engineering Jail Laundry Remodeling Project. Any motion? Commissioner Dwyer, supported by Commissioner Jackson. Good morning.
Bit of a traffic jam there, excuse us. I'm Art Holsworth, Director of Facilities Management. Ed Joss, Manager of Facilities Planning and Engineering. Am I right? I'll let this gentleman introduce himself.
I'm Tom Bida. I'm a lieutenant with the Sheriff's Office.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Lieutenant's going to give a little more background as to the security issues and the logistics of why it's important, but in general, what we're doing here is taking the existing open space by where the jail laundry is, which is adjacent to the intake and booking area. And remodeling it to make it more appropriate for the reasons the lieutenant's going to explain. It's a $131,000 project. It includes enhancing camera coverage in the various areas. It involves taking part of the holding cell, cutting it down in size a little bit to create a private area for the strip searching. So that also involves plumbing, replumbing the area. When you start sectioning rooms off, you also have to deal with the mechanical air handling systems, readjusting the lighting and everything. So there's a snowball effect that starts adding a lot of costs to what would normally appear to be a relatively simple remodeling. So at this point, let's let the lieutenant explain why this is an important thing to do.
Good morning. The purpose in a nutshell for this remodeling is it's going to keep us out of litigation. Currently, locally and nationally, there's a lot of litigation that is coming out of county jails having to do with strip searches. Our past practice has been that we've conducted strip searches, sometimes in a group nature for efficiency purposes. The standard of the industry is now designated private areas. And our Achilles heel in the jail is land space is a premium, and we just don't have that. So we have to designate a specific area that does not have sight lines where people that are uninvolved in the strip search process can see, i.e. specifically the inmate workers who assist the deputies in the laundry area. In order to facilitate that, we have to open up a fixed wall and relocate where our inmate clothing is to a location in the back of that room and relocate the inmate work area to that position to be in compliance with this. In addition, our corporation counsel was involved in the process of us rewriting our policy to reflect what the national standards are in best case practice. So we're on board with that. That policy is probably less than 4 months to 5 months old. So this is the last part of the icing on the cake, if you will, in order to keep us at the top of our industry and ensure a safe housing environment and work location for the people that are in that building.
Any questions? Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Just to ask you about the area.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
You said this remodel would provide no sight lines. So when strip searches aren't occurring and the inmate workers are in that area, I guess doing laundry or whatever they do, is it a private area where it's not guarded, nobody can see? Because to me, it kind of sounds like it could also cause an issue where people could be sequestered down there, where they might get into some things that, how do you prevent that?
What happens when we're doing the groups or the individual strip searches right now, there's a large holding cell area where we do that. We have to relocate the trustees to a different area, whether if we take them back into the dorm and secure them or move them out of that area in order to take care of that sightline problem. So again, that slows down our work product. We're talking, we book anywhere between, let's say, 100 to 110 people a day. So you can imagine that process and people coming and going from court. So anybody that leaves our building and comes back, still confined to the jail, they have to go through a strip search process too. And that's to make sure that they're not bringing contraband, weapons, drugs, or anything into the facility. So it's just not affecting new books, it's also affecting all the court returns, and we just get log jammed. So this amendment to our current standing will help with our workflow exponentially.
But then it will still be a secure environment when
Yes.
you aren't conducting strip searches?
Yes.
When the inmate workers are there alone?
No, there's always deputies that are back there, so they're not at their own free will. But with that, they're also doing some job tasks too. But they're in a controlled area and they're under supervision.
Okay, I guess that gets to my question. I was wondering if there's a place where things could happen out of the line of sight.
And that's one of the reasons why we're also, increasing our cameras back there as well, for just the security and the control issue, because it is a jail. So, that was a great question, thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions? How, just out of curiosity, without any, giving away any operational security, I mean, how often have you found anything? I mean, is it, I mean, I'm sure it's always being attempted.
Correct. We average probably something once a week. And it's usually narcotics, tobacco products. Occasionally, we've had edged weapons. So, I mean, it's been positive for us, because the word is out that you can't bring anything into the Oakland County Jail.
Okay.
So that helps us.
Yeah, this will make it better.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Let's call roll.
Jackson.
Yes.
Crawford.
Yes.
McGilvray.
Yes.
Dwyer.
Yes.
Teets.
Yes.
Whiteford.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the last item is communications. Need a motion to receive and file, moved by Commissioner Teets, supported by Commissioner McGilvray. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any other business? Seeing no other business, we are adjourned.